This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I am your host, Raquel Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada, I am now here to connect you to women that are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as female business professionals that also have a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, uplift, and motivate you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. And of course, this wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Staples Studio, where I am currently recording from. Check them out on their website, studio.staples.ca. It truly is a new approach to co-working with community at its heart. There's access to hot desks, meeting and event spaces all across North America. So thank you, Staples Studio, for connecting us and sponsoring this podcast. And thank you for listening. Enjoy, be sure to subscribe, and follow along. Hello, you daredevils out there. Raquel here, and today's episode is going to be incredible. Not only because I absolutely love talking about travel, but that's very obvious, but I think you might be joining us because you are curious about what it's like to be a woman in aviation and ultimately in the travel industry. There are some staggering statistics out there that only 5 to 10% of females are pilots. And according to the 2020 stats from the International Society of Women Airline Pilots, only 1.42% of captains are female, which that absolutely was mind-boggling to me. I had no idea that it was such a low number of female pilots out there. But lucky for all of us, I have found one of them. Rhea Mackay is one of the first female commercial pilots to be hired on by Westjet here in Canada. And I'm just thrilled to chat with her today to share her story with you. Rhea, thank you so much for taking the time with me today.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Raquel.
Any time. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally? Where did you end up now?
Well, now I live in Kelowna, BC, one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Agreed.
I'm a little partial. But originally, I'm from a small town just southeast of here in the BC interior. It's a beautiful little town called Grand Forks. And as far back as I can remember, I was restless and wanted out. I wanted to see the world. So as soon as I graduated, I moved to Kelowna and started college. My travels, my career actually took me from Kelowna to Vancouver, back to Kelowna, to Calgary, to the East Coast in Halifax, where I spent some time. And finally, I settled after many years traveling across Canada back in Kelowna in 2005.
Amazing. I'm from the Lower Mainland, and I moved to Kelowna about 10 years ago, and I will never move out from the city. It is so gorgeous.
Oh, you're a convert too.
I sure am. Yeah, I am. I love it. So I guess before aviation, did you take any other schooling, or was it straight into aviation for you or into flying?
No, I actually did 2 years of general arts at the Okanagan College, which was then Okanagan University College.
Yeah.
That's when I realized that there was an actual aviation program, and I switched gears 2 years into a general arts degree and did my diploma in commercial aviation instead.
Whoa, that's quite the shift to go from arts to aviation. Definitely.
You know what? It was, and it sounds really ridiculous, but back in the, I don't want to age myself here, but back in the, let's say, 90s-ish, it wasn't necessarily at the forefront of your mind, especially as a woman, that you could be an airline or a commercial pilot. You almost naturally just moved, or I found I naturally just moved towards arts, teaching, law, that sort of thing.
Wow. It's really, really incredible. Do you still do anything with your arts now?
You know, I would like to say I do. I do teach. I've taught human factors. I do line training and line checking in, I guess, a capacity at Westjet now and then, and some public speaking. But no, I never finished my degree, and I hope to go back and do that at some point.
Nice. Well, there's always lots of time, especially right now. This year's proven that we have more time on our hands than anything else, too, if we are wanting to do anything. Do you have any kids?
Yes, I do. I have a son. He is 10 years old, and he has definitely inherited my wanderlust and love of travel.
I love that. Oh, and how does he feel having a mom as a pilot? I feel like that's bragging rights.
I think because it's all he's ever known, it's just normal to him.
Hmm.
Sometimes he doesn't love when I go away for so long.
Yeah.
But he got on his first flight at 3 months old, so that's a kind of a cool perk he gets. And he just hasn't stopped traveling with me. And in some ways, he's actually a more adept traveler than I am.
I love that. It's so amazing to start off young because I feel like travelers really do have a bit like a really good patience and understanding just of the world and how things work. So good for
Oh, I
you. Hmm.
couldn't agree more.
That's amazing. So why did you start aviation? Your switch from arts over.
Well, quite honestly, as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. That was my,
Mm.
childhood dream. And I remember begging my parents to send me to space camp, and obviously that didn't happen. And when I was 8, my family took a trip to Disneyland, and we flew out of Spokane, Washington on a United Airlines Boeing 737, one of the really, the older models,
Hmm.
really loud engines. And I remember the exhilaration on takeoff. And that's back when you could actually listen to the pilot controlled communications
Hmm.
via the onboard entertainment. And you could visit the flight deck back then. And I remember being hooked.
That's fantastic. So how long then have you been in aviation for?
I've been in aviation for 26 years now.
Nice. Oh, I can imagine the places you've seen and the things you've done in the that's a long
Y-
time. Hmm.
it's been so long that I don't remember a lot of it.
That happens. That happens.
Yep,
Are
function
you
of age.
exactly? I mean, when I was doing some research into quite a few flying clubs out there for female pilots that I didn't know about, are you a part of any of those?
I'm not. There are some social media platforms that I'm a part of.
Hmm.
One of them in particular is called FAST, Female Aviators Sticking Together, and that's a Facebook group. And we have thousands of members worldwide, from recreational and private pilots all the way up to airline transport rated pilots on the verge of retirement. It's a really supportive platform for women from all over the world to connect and create community, which in particular for women, I believe is very important.
It is. Well, with the stats being so low on how many female pilots there are, that is such a perfect way to be able to have a support system. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, recently, beginning of the year, you were invited to the Okanagan College here for Women in Aviation Week. And I heard that it was a very, very inspiring event for you and some other females that were just chatting about ways to be involved in aviation and in this industry. What are some other ways that females can be involved aside from being a pilot?
Well, I mean, there are some obvious choices that, cabin crew, so flight attendants, customer
Hmm.
service. But in addition to the front line, there's air traffic controllers. We have baggage handlers, aircraft maintenance engineers. I've met some incredible people that are involved in airport operation and finance, administration, directorship management of companies, dispatch of aircraft and airlines. So there's so many
Wow.
avenues that someone can explore within the industry.
That's true. And there's even, I think WestJet does, I know maybe they did in the past, to be kind of a helper at the kiosks. Is that still a thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that was really good because I had some clients that were retired and she just volunteered like once a week. Speaking on airports, and of course, with COVID-19 being very present right now in the world, how has that affected your regular flying schedule?
Oh, well, COVID-19 has slowed our flying substantially. I'm sure you've seen it all over the news.
Hmm.
Many of our routes have been impacted, suspended temporarily, or for good. Many of us pilots are flying about a quarter to half the amount that we were
Wow.
prior to COVID-19.
It's such an interesting time. It definitely is, and I'm glad you guys are still flying because right now that is important.
Mm.
What is your normal route that you usually do fly?
Well, the airplane I'm on now, we do Calgary and Vancouver, Toronto to European
Hmm.
destinations.
Hmm.
So London, Gatwick, Paris, and Dublin. We were supposed to start Rome this past summer, but of course, COVID-19 had other
Oh,
plans
that's
for that. So that was a
right.
bit heartbreaking for me because I
That's right.
absolutely love Rome.
Oh.
And we also do direct to Hawaii out of Calgary.
And that's all on the Dreamliner.
That's on the
The
Dreamliner, you
Dreamliner.
bet.
Oh, it's such a beautiful plane. I flew one of the first flights last May, Calgary to Gatwick, and it was just so comfortable. I loved it.
To say it's by far the most comfortable and high-tech airplane I've ever had the opportunity to fly. It's fantastic.
So high tech that I have to add in because if you upgrade your seats to like premium or business, they have the mood lighting and they have a loon sound that wakes you up after a long sleep. It's the most
Isn't that
it's
civilized?
so funny. It's the most Canadian thing you can get, I think, on an aircraft. Like, way to go, WestJet. It's so
You feel
funny.
like you're in a cabin instead of 40,000 feet in the air, a
Exactly.
cabin in the woods.
Cabin in the woods. You're like, where am I? What's happening here? It's so funny. And even business class has poutine on it, which is even it's like Canada, eh? What else? What better can you get?
It's very Canadian, isn't it?
Oh, it's so
I
good.
actually had the opportunity to bring my fiance to, I think he came to Paris with me and Dublin on layovers. And
Yep.
on one of those flights, he actually got upgraded to business class. And I remember wandering back mid flight and just tapping him on the shoulder and saying, "You better not get used to this." I don't
Exactly.
want him too spoiled.
No, exactly. It's true. It's a reality check there.
He's actually a paramedic.
He's a paramedic. Oh,
The paramedic,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. How
Yeah.
does it work schedule wise? I guess you guys must have things pretty set with you up in the air, him working, because I'm sure that's long hours for paramedic too.
Yes, I would say in a lot of ways his job is far more challenging than mine is. I'm very removed from emotional things.
Hmm.
We're very routine and structured in the flight deck, and he's a first responder, so it's all kinds of different personalities, all kinds of different crises and
Absolutely.
emergencies. And yeah, and they have 14-hour days, we have 14-hour days. So we just do our best to make it work. But the nice thing about both of our professions is that when we're home, we're home. It's
Mm,
not, 9 to 5 and you only get a couple hours at night before everybody has to tuck into bed and do it again the next day.
yeah.
So we enjoy those stretches at a time together.
Absolutely. That's so true. Right now, when can we be traveling regularly again? And I know I it's a loaded question. I mean, do you have any insight, especially when maybe we can start seeing things or things open in the skies a little bit more regularly?
Well, I personally feel that many people are looking forward to the time when they can, go on their next adventure or vacation or make that long-awaited trip to visit their families.
Hmm.
We've had some very positive news in the past few weeks, actually, today in particular. I'm not sure if you
Oh,
heard. The government of Canada, in collaboration with the government of Alberta, has announced that eligible travelers, I'm not sure what exactly that entails,
yeah.
returning to Canada will have access to on-site testing upon arrival. So that could
Nice.
reduce the quarantine requirement from 14 days to as little as 24 to 48 hours. In addition to that, I was mentioning to you when we first spoke
Hmm.
that the Edmonton International Airport has announced that they'll be testing a new technology
Hmm.
that provides results within 1 to 2 minutes, right on the spot.
Amazing.
So, I believe that I believe very strongly that these measures will become, um, as they become more commonplace, we'll start to see an increase in traveler confidence and an uptake in travel bookings. But
Yeah.
timelines, I'm optimistically, I'm thinking spring,
Mhm.
but who knows? I think at this point, it's really anybody's guess.
That's just it. We really don't know. And in the conversations I have been having lately, a lot of the reason people aren't traveling is because of the 2-week mandatory quarantine when you come back to Canada. And I understand it, I value it, but if there's technology like that we can be using at airports to speed up that process, this is going to have a lot more comfort for people when they're returning home.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait. I will hopefully wait for my crystal ball to get working sometime soon here, but
Well, when you do, please let me know.
hey, no problem. I'll let everyone know. Good plan. Back to WestJet as well. Like you were one of the first female pilots to be hired for a commercial pilot. What does that feel like?
Well, I get asked that quite a bit, and I
Mhm.
guess it's pretty cool. And not to be that not to make it sound like I'm not grateful, but I certainly wasn't the first female WestJet pilot. I think I was in the first five or six.
Mhm.
So, by no means am I the pioneer. And I've met some incredible aviators who are, now retired from Air Canada or close to retirement. And I feel like they were the true trailblazers in Canadian airline aviation.
Very, very cool. One, I can imagine you've met way more female pilots than I ever have. You are my first. So,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so,
well, I certainly won't be your last.
no, I agree. I absolutely agree. With the fact that there are only approximately 5 to 10% of females in or as pilots, why is it that you think that is? Why is it so low?
Well, I think the job itself can be very difficult in work-life balance, especially when you move into the place in your life where you want to potentially get married or have a partnership and start to have children. It can be really hard to manage those things together. And 25 plus years ago, our culture and society seemed to have a very natural way of gently directing its female population toward more gender stereotypical roles. I think I was mentioning that's kind of
Hmm.
how I ended up in general arts instead of aviation originally. That definitely played a role for me back then.
Yeah.
And you may have to ask my younger colleagues if their experience differed as they came into the industry a little bit further on into history. I'd really like to hope that this is not so much the case in today's world, but the numbers still aren't reflecting that, unfortunately.
I agree, and I was again just doing more research into women in aviation, and there's some incredible stories out there. It's one story, and it goes back to women flying in World War II, and there was the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASPs, they were called, and they actually tested military aircraft. And initially, General Arnold, he actually said that he did not believe that a girl could fight the controls of a B 17 in heavy weather. And
Hmm.
then, as things went on and more women were flying these aircrafts, he actually changed his mind and he wrote in a report. He's like, now in 1944, it's on record that women can fly just as well as men. But it's crazy that he put that report in back in World War II. And then as the years went on and it was the dawn of the jet that started and the jet plane that got forgotten because in that day and age it was more respected to have a female home, and airlines
Hmm.
didn't really want female pilots. So it's really, really interesting that that still was the case back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And then
Hmm.
I even listened to this podcast for BBC, and it was Witness History podcast. And a female pilot that got hired on by American Airlines in the 70s, Bonnie Taberzi was her name. When she was trying to find a job, she reached out to almost like every single airline on the planet to try to get a job. And people actually wrote her back, these airlines, saying, now we're never going to hire a woman. So do not write us again. Like,
Hmm.
don't. It's absolutely amazing, but it's sad in a way that that was happening in the 70s and even like you said 80s, and then now we're still only at 10 to 50 or 5 to 10% of female pilots. It's just amazing how low it still is.
Yeah, it is to me too, and I think it has a lot to do with the work-life balance. Um, but we just have to keep creating that community and encouraging each other and sharing our stories and
Mhm.
inspiring people and making it available. One of the
Mhm.
things I've been asked to do in the past is speak to middle school students because apparently, statistically, that's the time when kids start thinking about their future and looking at avenues that they can take. And even today, you'd be really surprised. A lot of girls, women, don't really have access to travel have never really seen that that's an option. So for us to go into the schools and talk to them about some of the rewarding careers that exist in aviation is really a fantastic thing.
That is. It's such a great idea, and it's so good to start it early on. And I think of it as my nephews. They're very young, but they love playing with their toy planes, and their imaginations run wild on, oh, they could be a pilot and they could fly an aircraft, and they're just in awe when they see these machines close up or in person. And it's like, well, why can't little girls also have that dream? And why can't we start planting those seeds to dream big? And if a little girl sees an aircraft and is awed of it, remind her that she's capable of flying that one day if that's what she chooses to do. So it's a
Hmm.
great idea for the middle schools to go in there. And even on top of that, there's an article I found, and it was another female airline pilot. Stephanie Wallach was her name, and she did an interview with CN Traveler. She said, and I will quote it, she said, when you're a pilot, your primary relationship is with a machine, a piece of equipment. And growing up, many women aren't taught to work on cars or machines or to take apart a toaster and think about how the inner workings and mechanics of it work. But you can feel a real affinity for an airplane. So she was drawn to the machine aspect and the inner workings of the machine. But that really resonated with me because it's true. We don't really, I mean, I tried to put together my desk at my home office, and I've never thought about how a drawer goes in and out. My husband was like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Well, I've never had to think about this before." So,
and and you have to wonder if that's, a lot of research has shown that that's just the way women and men are built differently. But you have to really wonder, is that a little bit our society and expectations of our culture? From a very young age, you're directed one way or another. Toys are designed for boys or girls. So I think that there's an opportunity missed if we don't expose our children to all of the options available to them, female or male.
absolutely. It's so true, and it's something that's so easy and simple to do, and just even a conversation of something like that. And it does seem very mystical or mythical to fly a plane. Like, I'm always wondering what's happening up there on the pointy end of the aircraft, Like, it's very interesting. And of course you see the photos and the one you shared with me, and there's buttons coming out everywhere on the walls above you, below you. Like, it seems like a very overwhelming job. But
Oh, well, you know what? It's all about, just like everything else, it's all about training. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's, years of experience, and you make your way from a smaller airplane to a mid-size airplane and to a jet. And you kind of learn as you go.
yeah, like all things really in life, right? True.
Absolutely.
I mean, with your growth and the different aircrafts you did slowly start to get on to bring yourself to commercial pilot, what would you say as a woman in aviation your biggest struggle was or is?
Well, we discussed work-life balance, and I think once you become a mother and you have a child, there's just a natural pull to be with that child and to nurture that child. And it's almost an internal struggle to, I don't want to say force yourself, but to recognize that it's just as important to realize your passions and your fulfillment so that you set an example for your child of what a full life can look like.
I love that.
And so that balance, that work-life balance, is definitely been a challenge. And I'd like to add to that, because whether we all like to admit it or not, struggle is an internal process, I think. My biggest challenge building my career was recognizing that other people's opinions and cultural societal biases have nothing to do with how I perform my duties as a professional pilot. So when I stopped trying to prove myself to the outside world and just focused on being my best, the struggle pretty much disappeared.
Wow. I love that. And that's so true for so many aspects in our lives because it's like there's always something to prove, right? And no matter in what industry you're in.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
good for you because that must have been hard, but something that's clearly necessity, especially if it's something that you're trying to find that balance or, couple your passion with work and home. Like there's a lot of things that need to be balanced, really. So,
Yeah, and every day is
yeah.
different. You just do the best you can, right?
Absolutely. One day at a time has been my motto this entire year. Every day is
It is a very, very appropriate motto for this year.
yeah, I would say so too. I would. I mean, on the flip side of that, what do you is there an advantage that you would say you have being a woman in aviation?
Well, I'm not sure if it's an advantage so much as an opportunity, because there's less female aviators. So those of us that love to public speak and mentor and teach and encourage other aviators, there is that opportunity for us to do that simply by nature of us being more visible, if you will. So that's been an advantage for me because it's something I love to do.
Very much so. And it's so inspiring and it is amazing to get the word out there. And I really do hope that, this is something maybe someone's been thinking about being a pilot and they're like, "Hey, it is doable. We can make it work." I did find actually a really good stat that I know it's 5 to 10% average for female pilots across the globe, but India is actually leading that and they're at 12% for female pilots.
Wow. Isn't
Yeah.
that fantastic?
Yeah, I had no idea. And so whatever they're doing there, they're clearly supporting the females as well. And hopefully that number will continue to rise, which is great. Really
Wow,
great.
you sure have done your research.
Yeah, I like to be prepared. Yeah. Well, it's
Oh,
so
that's
interesting once you start kind of, researching into one thing and then all of a sudden you find something else and hopefully this will be a nice summary of all that information on this podcast too.
mhm.
And with all the flights that you've done, which airport would you say is your favorite to fly in and out of?
That's a question that I actually get asked quite a bit too. And
Yeah.
I would have to say it's a tie between Vancouver and Honolulu.
Mm.
And those two airports in particular, because the geography and topography is so stunning, they're beautiful airports visually to fly into. The weather is usually quite fair. There's not a lot of struggles with weather at those two airports, but they're busy enough air traffic wise so that no two approaches or departures are ever the same. So it still keeps it exciting
Oh.
and interesting, but you have this visually spectacular airport that you get to arrive into.
So beautiful. That's something I would love to see, just to actually be there. Have you ever had a moment, which I mean, you're a pilot, hopefully you say no, but have you ever had a moment where you're up there and you're like, "Oh man, why did I do this? Like what am I doing here?" Like
Well, I think the traveling public would like me to take the fifth on that.
Yeah, good plan, good plan. I'm always curious when it gets a little rocky. I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking up there. If it's just smooth sailing and all of us in the back, like the cattle car, are just feeling all this turbulence and you guys are fine. So,
Oh, actually, it is true. We always say to our cabin crew, please let us know if you want the seatbelt sign on or off, because quite often the turbulence we're experiencing in the pointy end of the airplane is quite different from what they're experiencing at the very back of the airplane. So we don't have the same perspective that the guests in the cabin do quite often. Not to mention the fact that many of us have 20,000 hours in airplanes, and so what may seem like just a ripple to us may seem worse to one of our guests. So we always
yeah.
try to keep that in mind.
No, that's great. Yeah, I guess I've never really I've always thought you guys probably were a little bit smoother sailing up there, so that makes sense definitely.
because, because
Lucky
you're sitting there
you.
thinking, why have they not turned that
Yeah,
seatbelt sign on?
exactly. Why aren't they coming around? What's happening here? Now it makes sense. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Uh, has there been any really memorable flying experiences that you would like to share?
Oh, let me think about that one. Memorable.
Mhm. Something that sticks out.
There's been so many. So I'm going to choose my most recent, and it was crossing Greenland for the very
Ooh.
first time as a member of the operating crew, and experiencing flying towards the sun across the Atlantic, and the sun just never set. I, quite honestly, I had waited my entire career to be a witness to that, and the view at the top of the world is truly just awe-inspiring.
Oh, I've got goosebumps. That sounds amazing.
It
Absolutely
was
amazing.
incredible.
The views, and it's like the view that you have out of the cockpit too. It's all windows surrounding you. So
Hmm.
you're just seeing everything as it comes in. That's absolutely gorgeous. I love
It
it.
is.
It's a very, very unique and inspiring story that you do have, and I know that a lot of airlines are encouraging women into the flight deck, and it sounds like you're doing the same thing with the speaking that you're doing, and I know I appreciate that. I'm sure many, many of us women do. Another stat that I have, I know I'm like a stats queen today. Anyways, but apparently by the year of 2038, there's going to be an estimated need of 804,000 pilots in order to meet demand. And so over the
Wow.
next, 18 years, it would be fantastic to see that percentage of female pilots grow from the 5 to 10. Even if we chipped up to a quarter and we're at 25%, it would be fantastic to see.
I would love to see that before I retire as well.
Definitely. So I mean, from your experience and for all of those women out there that are interested in becoming a pilot or thinking about it, what type of advice do you have for them?
You know, I think four key points. I believe in yourself. Trust your gut. Be willing to do the work. And above all, never compromise self. I think those would be my four pieces of advice.
I love that. That is very, very true and very well said. And I just want to thank you again for being here today and sharing your inspirational story. I mean, after all, General Arnold, back in 1944, he had changed his mind and he clearly said that piloting, the skill of piloting is not about gender, but it is about hard work. And if you put in the hard work, it does show no matter what gender you are. And there's very few people, I believe, that are cut out to give us the gift of flying. So it's absolutely possible to do that as a woman, and you are proving that today. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Raquel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, wonderful. Anytime, anytime. The She Dares to Travel podcast is here to inspire and showcase leading women in the travel industry from all over the world, as well as women business professionals with a passion for travel. If you like the episode, please subscribe, download a few more, leave a review. I would really love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, if there is any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next, just let me know. You can search for the hashtag She Dares to Travel podcast on Instagram, comment on the episode's post with your questions, and I'd love to answer them for you. I hope you enjoy your day. Stay so well out there, and until next time, fly straight.